Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Candidate Forum for Republican Candidates for Illinois Representative in the 66th District in the June 28th primary election. This forum is hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area. My name is Carol Brom, and I will be the moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to empower voters and encourage informed participation in our democracy. One of the ways we do that is to hold candidate forums to provide voters an opportunity to hear the candidates running for election. The forums sponsored by the League give candidates for local offices a chance to present information about themselves and their candidacy, background, skills, education, reasons for running for office, what they hope to accomplish if elected, and positions on various issues relevant to the office. All candidates in contested races were invited to participate in a forum. Each one was given the opportunity to fill out a candidate questionnaire on our website, and their written responses, if any, can be found in the voter guide. The format tonight is a forum, not a debate. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for the accuracy of statements made by the candidates. It is the responsibility of the public, news media, and opposing candidates to fact-check statements made by the candidates. The candidates have agreed to abide by the ground rules, among them being that no voice, image, or other duplication of the forum may be used by any candidate's representative or campaign in any campaign advertising. This evening, you will hear from the Republican candidates for Illinois Representative in the 66th District, Connie Kane and Arin. The winner in the primary will face Democrat Suzanne Ness in the November 8th general election. The format for today's forum will be a 2-minute opening statement, followed by 1-minute responses to questions from the moderator, and ending with 2-minute closing statements. Our timekeeper will show the candidates when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and when their time is up. Questions for the candidates are selected from those submitted by the League and audience members. Following the opening statements, the audience is invited to submit written questions on the cards provided. Please raise your hand if you wish to receive a blank index card or to have a question collected. The questions will be collected by League members and presented to the moderator. The League reserves the right to consolidate questions that are similar in content and to eliminate any questions that are inappropriate. If your question is not addressed or you would like a more detailed answer, please feel free to contact the candidates later for a response. After the question and answer period, the candidates will have the opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement, beginning in reverse order. We ask that you, the audience members, abide by the following rules. Please silence all cell phones and pagers. Please remain silent and seated during the forum. And please do not respond in any audible way to the candidates. This forum is being live streamed. It will be recorded and posted to the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area YouTube channel, where it will be available for viewing via links on our website and on our Facebook page. It will also be available in the Illinois Voter Guide. So we begin by welcoming our candidates, and thank you for agreeing to participate tonight. Ms. Kane, we will begin with your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you for inviting me here today. I am looking forward to answering your questions. I am running for state rep because I believe Illinois and my district should be a thriving state. Here are some facts about me. I am a lifelong Illinoisan. I've been married for 30 years, and my husband and I raised a family here in Illinois. I am a certified public accountant. I have been a member of the Lincoln Lobby for 5 years. Our group has a goal to restore Illinois as a beacon of prosperity. We have a legislative agenda that pertains to state government, and I am a founding member. I am a pro-life candidate, and I support strong Second Amendment rights. I have 20 years of experience in fraud investigation and dispute resolution, and I spent 8 years in the military. That all sounds great, right? But what does it all mean to the voters? The fact that I am a lifelong Illinoisan means I have deep ties to the community in Illinois, and I know what it takes to raise a family in Illinois. The fact that I'm a CPA means I have an in-depth knowledge of financial issues in Illinois. The fact that I have been a member of the Lincoln Lobby for 5 years means that I have a head start in dealing with the legislative agenda that pertains to state government, and I have an established network of contacts to help me. And I also have the experience to lead my constituents on state issues. My 20 years of experience in dispute resolution means I have the expertise to negotiate an agreement on your behalf. My 8 years in the military means I have the discipline, dedication, and determination to serve the people, and I understand self-sacrifice. And the fact that I am pro-life means I always protect the rights of the unborn and always support the right to bear arms in Illinois. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Thrower, your 2-minute opening statement.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Arin Thrower, and I'm running to make sure that ordinary families can put down roots, feel safe, pursue their dreams, and thrive right here in our community. I grew up right here in West Dundee, where I currently live with my husband, Scott, and my daughter, Goldie, both who are with me here tonight. I attended Dundee Crown High School and went on to graduate from Eastern Illinois University. From there, my career in television took me to Florida, where I had the chance to travel across the US and Europe. I then worked in the arts and entertainment industry, where I built relationships with elected officials. Those connections led me to my first government role almost 10 years ago, where I was given the opportunity to manage the communications team for the city of Kissimmee. When Scott and I had Goldie, we knew we wanted to be near family, so we made the decision to move back home. West Dundee was a special place to grow up in, and I wanted my daughter to have the same sense of security and opportunity that I did. Since moving back, I've directed communications teams for the city of Wheaton and for Lake County government. While working for Lake County during the pandemic, I learned there were some serious issues and potential corruption right in my own backyard, and I was inspired to run for Dundee Township Supervisor. I won that seat, we took back the township so it would serve the people once again, and now we are looking to do that same thing at the state. Over the last few years, we've watched as our governor and our far-left elected officials have pushed bad legislation through, bills that have led to residents and businesses struggling, bills that have led to an increase in crime, and bills that have diminished our parental rights. Our community deserves a representative who will listen and respect them and will vote for issues that give us a better quality of life here. Our governor's go-at-it-alone approach will not work. It's time to bring balance back to our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to begin the question and answer portion of the forum with a reminder that each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. First question will go to Ms. Kane. Illinois has received 4 credit upgrades in less than a year, reflecting progress on stabilizing the state's finances. Do you believe that Illinois is on the right path? Why or why not?
Illinois is not on the right path. Their credit has been upgraded because they received COVID money from the federal government. The state legislature or the state government has done nothing to improve the finances of state government. It was all federal money.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower, same question.
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please?
Illinois has received 4 credit upgrades in less than a year, reflecting progress on stabilizing the state's finances. Do you believe that Illinois is on the right path? Why or why not?
Wow, we certainly are on the right path because we were at the very bottom, folks, and we're still one of the worst states with a credit rating. So even though we're moving up, it's still embarrassing that this is what our governor is bragging about. We're on a sugar high from that federal money that was given to us, and that's going to run out real quick. We know when that happens. So again, are we on the right path? It's still embarrassing when we compare ourselves to other states. Thank you.
Hang on to that. The next question will go first to Ms. Frower. Despite an additional $500 million pension fund payment in the new state budget, the $130 billion in unfunded pension liabilities remains a crushing deficit that precludes long-term financial stability. Would you support a pension reform referendum that would leave current earned benefits untouched but allow for reductions in future benefits growth to affordable levels? Do you see any other alternatives?
Well, I know that the pension problem took several years to get us where we are. I think it was under Blagojevich that they didn't fund it for 2 years, then the Great Recession happened, and it's the mess that it is. So certainly, if it can go to the voters, I know there was a constitutional amendment that was made a few years back and then was rejected by the state courts, but I'm definitely open to exploring that. I know that, again, that it's a problem that's not going to be solved by just one person. It's going to take both parties. And I think it is important to make sure that all the stakeholders are involved. There's folks that have been contributing to their pensions for many, many years. We want to make sure that that's protected, but definitely there needs to be some more balance.
Thank you. Ms. Kane, same question. Despite an additional $500 million pension fund payment in the new state budget, the $130 billion in unfunded pension liabilities remains a crushing deficit that precludes long-term financial stability. Would you support a pension reform referendum that would leave current earned benefits untouched but allow for reductions in future benefits growth to affordable levels? Do you see other alternatives?
I would definitely support a constitutional amendment to fix the pension crisis. I think public employees work hard and they deserve their pension. Those are rightfully earned benefits, and I think the best way to resolve it is to allow everybody to vote on a referendum. So yes, I do support a change to the Constitution to fix the pension clause. And a referendum is the best way to do it.
Thank you. The next one will go to you, Ms. Kane. The Department of Children and Family Services has a long and troubled history, with the current director cited for contempt by a judge 9 times this year for failing to place children in appropriate settings. Despite increases in funding, the problems continue. What changes would you support to improve the outcomes for our neediest children?
Well, I would support reducing regulations so that we can find more housing for these children. I think that would be the best thing that we can do for them.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower.
As a mom of a 9-year-old child, I can't even imagine. It's just heartbreaking what some of these families and children are going through. And to have little AJ taken from us right here in this district, again, it's just heartbreaking. There needs to be new leadership, obviously, at DCFS. There needs to be additional protection and training measures, and there just needs to be a full audit of this organization. There's failed leadership.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Thrower. Illinois passed comprehensive criminal justice reform legislation last year that changed almost every area of the justice system, from police accountability to pretrial detention to sentencing. What changes, if any, would you like to see made to that legislation, and why?
That is the Safety Act, correct? Known as the Safety Act, which is a joke that it's called the Safety Act because it's actually making our communities less safe. This is a pro-criminal, anti-police bill, let's not kid ourselves, that's making our communities less safe because of what's in it. I am for a full repeal of the Safety Act.
Ms. Kane?
Okay, the Safety Act, the judiciary should retain their ability to keep violent offenders off the streets. The Safety Act limits the ability of police officers to make arrests, and it creates confusing and potentially dangerous new standards and requirements for police departments. It also places the rights of the accused ahead of the rights of victims. I support a full repeal of the Safety Act.
Okay, this one goes to you first. What measures would you support to address the growing violence in our communities? Would you favor additional restrictions on the type of weapons available, purchase requirements for guns and licensing?
I support strong Second Amendment rights. I do not support any kind of gun control. I believe it is everyone's God-given right to self-defend themselves and their family.
Ms. Thrower?
There's a tendency to put politics at the center of everything. So in the situation that recently happened, we need to focus on prevention, not politicizing the situation. So we have to balance those Second Amendment rights, certainly, while ensuring that those that are suffering from mental health that need help are getting it. So again, we need to prevent, not politicize.
Okay, Ms. Thrower, what is your opinion on the use of state funding to lure and subsidize private development projects?
You know, it's unfortunate that we have to use tax dollars in order to get businesses to come here. But the cost of building and developing something is just so unrealistic for people because the taxes are so high. So if we can reduce that tax burden, perhaps we wouldn't need to have those incentives. But right now, they're necessary.
Ms. Kane? What is your opinion on the use of state funding to lure and subsidize private development projects?
I do not support using state funding to lure development projects. I support reducing taxes and changing the structure in order to make it more affordable. And I support making the environment, the business environment, more competitive here. I definitely would not use public funds to subsidize private projects.
Thank you. Ms. Kane, what is your opinion of current school funding formulas? Should the state increase its share of the funding of K through 12 education? What about community colleges and four-year colleges?
Okay. Well, the state of Illinois has over 800 school districts. For K through 12, we pay the highest administrative cost in the nation. And I believe what should happen is that we need to consolidate administrative tasks while keeping all the schools open. So we would not have to spend, we would rather save money on K through 12. Now, for universities, I believe the problem is we need pension reform, because for public universities, half the money budgeted goes to pensions. So again, this comes up over and over again, and a lot of the financial issues in the state of Illinois have ties to the lack of constitutional pension reform. So I believe that if we do pass constitutional pension reform, we can solve a lot of problems.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower, same question.
Our local schools and our universities are actually very well funded here in the state of Illinois. We have some of the best teachers. My sister is a teacher, she's here tonight. She teaches over at CMS. We have some of the best and brightest for our teachers. But once again, politics is making its way, and so sometimes there are mandates that are unfunded that the schools have to do. And so if we can get that under control and let teachers do what they love to do, which is teach our students in those subjects, I think that would be a great place to start.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower, this first one goes to you. Scientists say that climate change is likely to worsen the frequency and severity of floods, fires, droughts, and storms, with severe impacts on economies and ecosystems. We're already dealing with rising insurance and infrastructure costs. Do you agree that climate change is one of the most important issues facing the world, and that we should be taking more proactive measures to deal with it rather than just fixing the damage after it occurs?
Sure. Climate change certainly is an important issue. It's definitely not the top issue for the residents that I'm talking with. Residents are concerned about how much gas is going to cost them to get to work right now. And so Illinois has some really great goals when it comes to the environment and climate change, but what they don't have is a good energy plan that's balanced. We can't just shut things down, because then guess what? There's not going to be enough energy, and our costs for that energy are going to go up. So we need to have more balance. We need to have a good leadership plan, certainly, when it comes to energy, but we have to have kind of a diversified portfolio. It's not going to be, oh, everything's just going to be solar. Oh, everybody can go out and buy an electric car. Those are not realistic expectations. So again, we just need some better leadership when it comes to our energy goals. Certainly the goals are good, the plan is not.
Thank you. Ms. Kane? Scientists say that climate change is likely to worsen the frequency and severity of floods, fires, droughts, and storms, with severe impacts on economies and ecosystems. We are already dealing with rising insurance and infrastructure costs. Do you believe that climate change is one of the most important issues facing the world, and that we should be taking more proactive measures to deal with it rather than just fixing the damage after it occurs?
Okay, well, I believe there is a problem with climate change, and it is a serious issue, but we have other things that we need to deal with. We have to do a thorough cost-benefit analysis to make sure that the controls are beneficial and we're not spending excessively. But I think right now we have a lot of more important issues, such as inflation. That's a major concern. So while I do believe climate change exists, there are other more important issues we should be worrying about.
Thank you. This next one will go to Ms. Kane first. What would you do to accelerate issuance of the annual comprehensive financial report?
Yes, we have been very late on the financial report. At times we have been about a year late. I believe that what needs to happen is the entire system has to be redone. It's hard for me to say.
It is.
It is a hard one, but you know what? I'm a CPA, and I'm still waiting for the 2020 annual comprehensive financial report. So whatever has to happen, I know that our finances at the state level are a total mess. So if we can get some of that in order, I think we'll be able to issue our report in a more timely fashion.
Thank you, Ms. Thrower.
Right, that's a tough one because we're not down there, but like any new legislator, I would need to get up to speed to see what is that process, right? What is that process? What is the problem? What's going on there? But certainly more important, people are focused on the overall budget. When a 3,000-page stack of a budget is, handed out the night before it needs to pass, that's an even bigger issue to me than when the comprehensive report comes out. But again, once you're down there, we get to find out the process and how we can improve it, certainly.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower, what is your opinion of the effects of large campaign contributions from wealthy supporters who live outside of the district? Does it distort the election process by which voters choose who will represent them?
I certainly don't think it distorts, and that's, I like to say, don't hate the player, hate the game. I love that phrase. That's what the law, it currently is allowed for people to invest and support people that they love and that want to see the pride brought back to Illinois. They love this state, and so they're willing to invest their personal income that they've earned to support, and I think that's all right.
Thank you. Next question goes back. Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, jumping ahead here. What is your opinion of the effects of large campaign contributions from wealthy supporters who live outside of the district? Does it distort the election process by which voters choose who will represent them?
Well, I think it makes the politicians less loyal to their constituents. They are less responsive to the constituents and more responsive to the people who have given them the large campaign cash. So, yeah, I think it's not a good thing to have all of this campaign cash where, people aren't represented as they should be.
Thank you. Ms. Kane. Illinois currently has a moratorium on new nuclear power plants. Would you support ending that moratorium as part of an overall strategy to fight climate change by reducing our carbon emissions?
I do not believe there should be a moratorium on nuclear power plants. I believe we should be able to use more nuclear power because it is cost effective.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower.
I'm definitely in support of anything that's going to give us more reliable energy sources, and again, as I said earlier, that kind of will diversify the tools that we have in our toolbox as far as what's available for energy, and that can make it possibly more affordable. Our gas bill literally doubled in 1 year. That's unrealistic expense now for a lot of our homeowners. So anything we can do, again, to help balance that is going to be important.
Thank you. Next question, Ms. Thrower. Would you support mandatory gun safety classes for anyone applying for a firearm owner's identification card or purchasing any type of firearm?
No, I would not.
If not, please explain.
Again, I don't think that should be a requirement. I just definitely am not in support of that. People that are buying firearms are everyday responsible residents and neighbors, and I just don't feel that should be a restriction or requirement that's not needed.
Ms. Kane.
I do not support those.
Would you support mandatory gun safety classes for anyone applying for a FOID card or purchasing any type of firearm? And if not, why not?
Okay. I do not support mandatory gun safety classes. I believe in strong Second Amendment rights, and I do not support any type of gun control.
To you for the next one. Ethics reforms for Illinois government comes up often, and yet very little is actually accomplished. What are your views on the need for ethics reform, and can you state any specific reforms that you would support?
Yes, I would support providing the Legislative Inspector General with subpoena powers. Right now, the Legislative Inspector General position is a paper tiger. That role has no actual powers to do anything about corruption. And I would support allowing county and state prosecutors the ability to use wiretaps in political corruption investigations.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower?
Unfortunately, our state has been plagued by a culture of corruption for decades. I think that's why we're running, is to try to change that and to have more transparent government. I think that I would be in favor of prohibiting lawmakers and their family members from lobbying state and local officials. Also, I'm in favor of term limits. I think sometimes when people maybe are in office for 20, 30 years, that can kind of lead to this feeling of empowerment that is not what the job was intended for.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower. The official 2020 census showed a decline in the Illinois population of 0.1% since the 2010 census, resulting in the loss of 1 congressional seat. However, the Census Bureau released new survey data on May 19th, suggesting that Illinois may have been undercounted and that the population actually grew by more than 257,000 to just over 13 million. Does that change your view of Illinois' image and efforts to make our state more competitive for economic development?
It's certainly a positive, so we'll start with that. But even if we maintained and we grew a little bit, if you look at our neighboring states and how much more they grew, that's where the problem is, right? Especially for economic development. And I know going door to door, I can't tell you how many times I said, don't forget to vote. Oh, I'm so sorry, we're moving to Tennessee. We're moving to South Carolina. I won't be here for the election, right? So I'm not sure, what the papers are saying about it, but in the community and friends and family I have, they've got an exit strategy, and we need to change that.
Thank you. Ms. Kane.
Okay, IRS migration data tends to be more accurate than the census, and I can tell you IRS migration data shows Illinois lost another 100,000 residents and a record amount of wealth in 2020. So yes, we are losing residents, and the states around us are growing, and the problem is we have bad public policy here in Illinois, and the situation won't improve until we turn the public policy around and become more competitive with other states.
Thank you. Ms. Kane, we frequently hear about the need to eliminate wasteful spending from the Illinois budget. Can you identify any specific examples of wasteful spending that you would like to eliminate?
Well, as I had talked about earlier in our pension system, we have a 3% COLA that is compounded that we give to our pensioners every year, and that's an inflated COLA, so that to me is wasteful. If we stopped doing that and we pegged it to inflation, we would save approximately $1.5 billion every year.
Ms. Thrower?
Yes, I think that it's important when you get into some of these committees, when you get downstate, you take a deeper dive into some of the programs to make sure that every single program is effective and it's efficient. Representative Kiker just worked on a bill that looks at some taxing bodies, and every 10 years they're going to show how efficient and effective they are and whether they can consolidate. This is from mosquito abatement districts to park districts to townships are included as well, that sort of thing. But I can save a few pennies, and I don't mean to be crass, but our current representative voted to mandate that our schools put tampons in the boys' restrooms. So we can save a few dollars by eliminating silly things like this that are getting pushed through. It's not a lot of money, but we can do better, right?
Ms. Thrower, what is your opinion of the use of tax increment financing districts, or TIFs, as a development tool? Do they unfairly penalize other taxing districts, including schools, libraries, and parks, in favor of developers? Do they offer a good return on an investment? Should their use be more strictly regulated?
Sure, well, that's a lot of questions about TIFs. But as the township supervisor, I'm invited to all the different TIF meetings. And what I'm finding here recently in this area is that a lot of the TIFs, they don't impact the schools because they're industrial or they're commercial. So that actually our school district gets a vote, and the fire departments do, as well as the township. And it's not the great burden, of course. Now, if a big housing community were to come in and get a TIF, that would be something to look at, certainly. But as I mentioned earlier, developers and businesses sometimes needs these TIFs to come in and get a project started, and the benefit that it will reap to the community, whether it's through jobs or through future taxes, I found usually to be very successful. It's very rare for a TIF to fail. It happens, but it's rare. And if it's done correctly, it can be a success for a community.
Thank you. Ms. Kane?
My opinion of TIFs is that they're supposed to be used for blighted neighborhoods, and the TIFs have been abused quite a bit, and the TIFs themselves are not transparent enough so that the taxpayers know what's going on.
Okay, I have two questions having to do with abortions. I'm going to combine both of them. What are your views on a woman's right to choose abortion or any other healthcare option without undue outside interference? Should there be restrictions on the use of state or federal funds? And question from the audience, what is your plan to keep abortions legal and safe? Who do you have to answer first? Who just answered? You take it, so you take this one first.
Okay, well, I don't support the use of federal funds for abortion, and abortion should only be used in extreme circumstances. I am a right to life candidate.
Ms. Thrower?
Yes. I'm pro-life and I want to support women. I definitely do not support federal funds or state funds to be used for abortion. We should not have taxpayer-funded abortion, so I'd work to change that. But the concerns that I'm hearing from voters are that parents want to be included in decisions about their young children. So repealing the Parental Notification Act was a wrong move. What I will support is exploring more affordable childcare options so that working moms and dads can stay on a path with their careers in order to support their young families. I'm also interested in programs that help support adoption assistance.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower, inflation is hitting people hard, raising the cost of groceries, gasoline, energy, and consumer goods. It also raises the costs of government, including road repairs, salaries, and human services. How do you view the use of temporary tax cuts and rebates to help residents deal with inflation? Is it an effective way to help, or is it mainly an election year public relations measure?
Well, suspending taxes to me is just a temporary fix to a bigger issue in our state, which is, of course, government overspending. I've seen it firsthand, even at the local levels, and I like to say, if we could save money at the city, at the county, at the township, I can't wait to get down there and do it at the state level. So again, suspending, that's just a temporary fix. And instead of worrying about inflation, because it's going to happen, right? It's happened multiple times in my lifetime. We need to make sure that we have a strong economy and good paying jobs so people don't have to lose sleep worrying about how they're going to pay for those basic necessities. So I'd like to concentrate on that.
Thank you. Ms. Kane. Inflation is hitting people hard, raising the cost of groceries, gasoline, energy, and consumer goods. It also raises the costs of government, including road repairs, salaries, and human services. How do you view the use of temporary tax cuts and rebates to help residents deal with inflation? Is it an effective way to help, or is it mainly an election year public relations measure?
Well, I think what you said, it's an election year.
Public relations measure.
Yeah, it's an election year public relations measure. I think on the demand side, Illinois needs to make the state an attractive place to live and conduct business. We need to turn around our public policy to be more competitive with other states so we can pick up our economy and people will be able to get a job and work and be able to pay their expenses.
Thank you. State of Illinois doubled the gasoline tax in 2019. What is your position on state and local gas taxes and property? And I'm not sure what this says. Transparently reflect gas taxes and client receipts. Today they are hidden. Did that make sense to you? No. Okay, the question is about state and federal gas taxes and transparently reflecting gas taxes on client receipts. I guess they don't necessarily show on receipts. Today they are hidden. Any comments on that?
Do you mean, the person that asked the question, I'm not sure if they're here, mean that you don't see it in your itemized gas bill when you go to the gas pump?
Yeah, when you get your receipt from the gas pump, it doesn't itemize all the individual taxes, and some of your taxes are taxes on top of taxes. So it's about transparency and getting that receipt, so you see exactly what you're paying for taxes.
So your question is, should that be required to be on the receipt?
Correct.
I think that's a great idea. I never even really thought about that, and I don't even want to get my receipt right now, honestly, when I pump the gas. You know, when I was working in Lake County government, I watched the Democrat-controlled board in the middle of a pandemic actually add for the first time a gas tax, which was just appalling to residents, and people fought it. Again, I understand sometimes that there are infrastructure needs and challenges that need to be addressed, but again, those should be prioritized and be sensitive to essentially, you know, what's going on with the rest of the world at the time.
Thank you. Ms. Kane.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea to fully itemize the gas bill, so you know exactly where your money's going.
Okay, this next one, to you first, Ms. Kane. How do you plan to overcome the practice of Democrats burying GOP bills in the Rules Committee?
I know they've been doing that for a long time, and that started under Madigan. That's where bills go to die. They go in the Rules Committee. So we have to change the legacy of Mike Madigan in Springfield, and we have to stop burying bills in the committee. So we have to change the House rules so that the bills don't automatically go there. And I think part of that has been changed, and it hasn't happened as much with Mike Madigan gone. But that's definitely a point and something we need to work on.
Ms. Thrower.
I feel like that's an easy one because I know when I ran for township supervisor and I was knocking on doors, I said, we're gonna take this state back one seat at a time, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna flip some seats, so it's not a problem anymore.
Okay, to you first. What are the top 3 issues you would address if elected?
There are so many issues, right? Again, when you're talking with people, there's so many frustrations. But I think the top 3 for me, certainly the economy, and to me that means wasteful spending. I think we're collecting enough revenue, enough taxes for everybody, but we just need to get that spending under control. Public safety, again, repealing that Safety Act would be the second one, making sure that our families and our businesses feel safe in their own communities, and putting criminals where they belong. And then third and final would be education, and make sure, again, that our parental rights are restored, and that we take the politics out of the classroom.
Thank you. Ms. Kane.
Well, I would work on constitutional pension reform, ethics reform. I would reduce business regulations, and I would strive to make worker compensation costs more competitive with bordering states.
Okay, this one to you first. Why would independents in the general election vote for you?
Well, I think they would vote for me because of my background. I'm a certified public accountant, and I'm a lifelong Illinoisan. I raised a family here. I know what it takes to raise a family in Illinois.
Ms. Thrower?
I love the independents, and there's so many of them right now. And so I'm asking for their vote because this is what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is working successfully with both Democrats and Republicans in my everyday job. And I think what we really want, we don't want one party to be extreme one way or the other. What we're asking for is just a little bit of balance. That's what we are, that's what we want, so thank you.
Thank you. For our final question to you, Ms. Thrower. Compromise has become a dirty word in politics. What will you do to help bridge a divide between party lines?
So again, this is what I do. I'm a communicator. This is what I studied in school. This is what I've been doing for definitely more than 10 years, probably almost 20 years now. We don't have to use the word compromise, but you have to know how to negotiate with people, right? To make sure that everybody gets something out of it. Again, it's not about just one side or the other winning. We have to restore that balance. Again, we want to make sure that people are proud to live here and can have that sense of pride that we're not known as the corrupt state. So yeah, again, that's what I've been doing almost every day, working with both sides of the aisle to have success, whether it's for an infrastructure project, a communication piece that needs to go out. So yeah.
Compromise has become a dirty word in politics. What will you do to help bridge a divide between party lines?
Well, I will reach out to the other side of the aisle to work with them on issues. I will compromise with them with whatever needs to be done. You know, I'm willing to sit in meetings and talk to people and follow up on the issues until we get things resolved. But I have a feeling that our legislators need to be more motivated, and the way they should be motivated is to put in term limits and fair maps, because when you think about it, if there are no term limits and the districts are gerrymandered, the politicians can sit in the district for decades without having to worry about competitive elections. So I think there is an issue with having to motivate the people in the legislature.
Okay, I said that was the last question, but I found one in the pile that I missed that we actually have time for, so this will be the last question. And Ms. Kane, I guess it goes to you first. What are your thoughts on rights for immigrants and refugees?
Well, I feel they should be treated humanely just like anybody else. Immigrants and refugees, especially, you know, if they're from a disadvantaged area of the world, we should be stepping up to help them out with whatever we can. So, yeah, they should be treated just like anybody else.
Thank you. Ms. Thrower.
Our diversity as a nation and certainly as a state of Illinois is what makes us so great, right? So for immigrants and refugees and people that have come here for a better life for them and their family, there's nothing more noble than that. And I can imagine being in a different country and struggling with my daughter Goldie. I would do everything I could to maybe escape a bad situation. So my heart goes out to them. But we just want to make sure that people are doing it legally and that we have a correct process. So if we need to tweak that process, that's fine. Just let's make sure that there's a process that's here that can get people here that need to be.
Thank you. Thank you both for answering our questions. We'll hear your 2-minute closing statements now, beginning with Ms. Thrower.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing us to be here and to share a little bit about ourselves tonight. Thank you to the League, and thank you to our PCs that came out that helped to get the vote out. We appreciate that so much. So many residents that I've talked with are absolutely fired up about this campaign, and they can't wait to see the great changes that are soon to come. I'm running to help bring you the peace of mind and hope for a better tomorrow that comes from living in a community with safe streets, best-in-class schools, in a vibrant and growing economy that provides great careers and financial stability for families. I'm fortunate to have had the unique experience working both professionally with municipalities and more recently as an elected official with Dundee Township. This experience gives me a great advantage in understanding the relationship between our residents, local government, and the state. For close to 10 years, I've been talking with residents daily about their concerns and working with municipal departments and organizations to help solve problems and bring change to a community when needed. This fall, we are going to battle against the machine that corruption and Michael Madigan built. I have the experience to bring us home a victory. Again, I thank you for this opportunity. It would be an honor to represent my community down in Springfield, and I look forward to spending more time getting to know everybody over these next few months. Thank you.
Ms. Kane.
In conclusion, I am concerned about the shrinking population in Illinois combined with massive unfunded liabilities at the state level. I would like to make Illinois more competitive with other states through property tax relief, implementing a strong school choice program, making the cost of workers' compensation competitive with neighboring states, and keeping politics out of public school classrooms. My name is Connie Kane, and I'm running for state rep because I believe Illinois should be a thriving state. My goal is to restore Illinois' status as a destination state. My campaign supports policies that make Illinois competitive with other states. I don't want to make outlandish promises to get elected. Fixing Illinois will take some time. My overall goal is to restore Illinois as a beacon of prosperity and freedom. I am bringing my passion, vision, and experience to the table. I can promise you I will leave no stone unturned in trying to find and implement a solution for my constituents. I will marshal every resource available to me. My name is Connie Kane. Vote for me in the primary for the 66. Thank you.
Thank you both for participating in this candidate forum and giving the voters a chance to hear your views. For more information on these and other candidates, check the voter guide on our website, LWVEA.org, and the LWV Illinois voter guide. That concludes tonight's candidate forum. I want to thank the candidates, the league members who work to provide this forum, and the voters who take the time to watch these forums and learn about the candidates in order to make an informed choice. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to do the same. If you applied to vote by mail, ballots are being mailed out now. Voting early in person at permanent polling places begins on June 13th, and voting on Election Day at your regular polling place will be on June 28th. If you plan to vote early, please note that different sites are open different hours and there may be changes from previous years. You can check our information table by the door. I believe Linda over there has a list of all of the polling places where you can go. You can also check the Kane County Elections website for current information. We hope that this candidate forum presented as a public service by the League of Women Voters has been helpful. Our next forums will be June 2nd, the Democratic primary for the 8th Congressional District. That one is hosted jointly with 6 leagues in the 8th District. It will be held at the Gail Borden Library at 6:30 p.m. on June 2nd. The candidates in that one are Junaid Ahmed and Raja Krishnamurthy. On June 7th, also at the Gail Borden Library at 6:30, will be the Democratic primary for Kane County Board District 17. In addition to the candidate forums hosted by the League of the Elgin area, recordings of the following forums hosted jointly with other local leagues are available on our website under Voter Guide for the 22 primary. We have the recorded versions of the Republican and Democratic primaries for Illinois Supreme Court 2nd District and Democratic primary for Illinois Appellate Court 2nd District recorded on May 17th. The Republican primary for Congressional Representative for the 11th District was recorded on May 11th, is also on our site, and the Democratic primary for Congressional Representative for the 3rd District recorded on May 18th. No forums will be held for the following primary races due to insufficient candidate participation. The Republican primary for the 8th Congressional District, the Republican primary for Kane County Clerk, the Republican primary for Kane County Board District 9, and the Democratic primary for Kane County Board District 22. Thank all of you for coming. You can probably squeeze in another question or two if you have one for the candidates before they head out the door. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and do check our website or our Facebook page for more information. Thank you.